Welcome back to the Crypto's Key Conversation. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at some Ripple versus SC updates. We're going to be taking a look at a couple digital asset investor Johnny Deaton tweet threads in regards to kind of what's been going on in the market, especially when it comes to this Terra Luna and UST devastation that's hitting the market and how it's kind of fitting this agenda or narrative that's being pushed by, the regulators within the United States and in particular in regards of stablecoin and regulations within the crypto space. And then we're also going to be taking a look at some Bitcoin updates. But quickly jumping into CoinGecko here, we're currently sitting at a $1.34 trillion market cap, currently up 6.7% for the day. And as you can see, Bitcoin is sitting at 29,928, Ethereum 2,066, XRP sitting at 43 cents, currently up 14%, 14.1% in 24-hour period. Let's see the biggest gainer here. Gala at 46.6%, Decentraland's 46, Polkadot's 28.6, and so on. There's some good gainers there. But as you can see, if we come over here to the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index, we're still in this extreme fear range at 10. So there's still a lot of market uncertainty and fear out in the markets that's kind of been affecting us in this downward spiraling pressure. In an hour and 47 seconds, we're going to get an update here. So I'm curious to see what this is going to be. But quickly jumping into the content, just wanted to jump on this James K. filing update here in regards to the Ripple versus SEC stuff. He says, parties file joint request for extension of time regarding attorney's fee connected to Met supplemental report. So long story short, this someone had came down here and said, where was it at? But someone had put up a funny tweet here that was said this case should be pretty much turned into, like, its name shouldn't be Ripple versus SC. It should be like the delay case or something. But because it's constant extensions and delay extensions. That's kind of what the case has been. Obviously, we have a certain timeline now, but from the drop of the lawsuit in December 2020 till now, I mean, there's just been so much, kicking the can down the road behavior. Moving on, digital asset investors responding to Stefan Huber's tweet here, where he has Bill Hinman being interviewed here in this little trio here. It says, "Hey, Bill, you swore under oath in threat of punishment at Ripple interrogation last year that it was just your personal opinion when it came to the speech that Ethereum is sufficiently decentralized. And now you are talking about, quote, we at the SEC again? Doesn't look good for you. This is from this month." So Digital Asset Investor says, while he was crafting the Ethereum Free Pass speech, he was literally having meetings with third-party promoters in Ethereum that he claims it didn't have, the lies. So for us that have been following the case and, the Ethereum Free Pass that the community has been kind of piecing together, looking at the whole ETHgate scandal and just kind of connecting the dots, we all are well aware of kind of the lies and the contradictory and the conflicts of interest that's been taking place. But in this video, as you take a listen in, really listen to kind of, how he's talking in this and how he answers certain positions and how he views things.
Some respects have been attractive because folks have really latched on to something that we had articulated back in 2018. If you have an organization where there's not an identifiable active participant or sponsor or third party that's really directing how the DAO's success might go, then you might not have something that gets regulated as a security. And back then we said, Ethereum had reached the point, even though it's not a DAO, but Ethereum had reached the point in terms of an investment in a token that did not need to be regulated as a security because there wasn't a central party sort of directing the activities and people weren't relying on a central party to deliver them a return, which is one of the keystones of whether or not you have a security. If you are setting up a DAO and you feel like...
So, I mean, yada, yada, yada. I mean, clearly, based on the Ethereum Free Pass speech and kind of the timeline we've pieced together as a community, there's just a lot of nonsense. And it's just crazy that, that this is actually ongoing currently within the United States of America. It's absolutely crazy. We need a massive investigation to take place and obviously empower oversight with Jason Foster, the class action lawsuit with Johnny Deaton, and obviously Ripple being in the case or the lawsuit with the SEC now. Hopefully, some of these, I guess, actions or steps taken by, these groups of people, this decentralized community can really have an impact and bring, more of this to light to where it's not just within, our community. It's like worldwide known on, all these so-called media outlets that they so-called own. The truth is as they say, the truth will set you free, but can the truth really get out there? Are we really going to get all the facts? Are we going to get, 68 drafts? Like, is that going to be a thing, or is there going to be some sort of settlement to suppress those drafts? Moving on. He says, Digital Asset Investor says, here's a part of the timeline where he is meeting with Ethereum third-party promoters leading up to the Ethereum Free Pass speech, where he says there are none. These people have no shame. So obviously, you can come in here, kind of read in kind of what's been happening. And if you haven't been well aware of the Ethereum Free Pass timeline, make sure you go in and you actually read and review and kind of look at all the video footage and timelines that the community, like Digital Asset Investor, Johnny Deaton, and the like, have been kind of posting and making sure that the community is well aware of kind of what's been going on. So continuing on here, Digital Asset Investor says, remember when Rosalind Layton wrote the Forbes crypto article and pointed out the fact that Coinbase was threatened over their Lend product, but Aave was left alone? Pure coincidence. I'm sure this woman is their GC interviewing Hinman. So coming over here, he was talking about this Rebecca Rettig, a general counsel at Aave. So obviously, Aave's being, built on Ethereum. So it's like they go after, other things that aren't Ethereum, but things that are built on Ethereum, you kind of get the safe passage, the rite of passage, safe passage. Moving on here, Johnny Deaton's talking about, a year ago I tweeted at him and collected 15 millions and it didn't seem like, quote, retirement benefits. Many XRP holders agreed. Then we learned through efforts of Empower Oversight and Jason Foster that the SEC's ethics office agreed with us. It wasn't a pension. He was an ongoing profit-sharing partner. Hands down, we all know that. It's literally the whole, this whole ETHgate scandal. They thought they weren't going to get caught. And the crazy thing is now it's out there. And we're only surfacing more of the facts, more of the truth. This isn't unfounded speculation. This isn't some sort of conspiracy theory. It's there. It's them. Them in their own words. Them on documents, them on, audio and video footage. It's crazy. So speaking of this devastation that's happened in the market, obviously, the market's taken a big dump, spiraling, to the downside. The whole stablecoin and Luna and UST pegging did not help. All it did was add more weight and compounding weight on the downward pressure that this market has been facing. With that being said, I made a video yesterday talking about, crypto investors that are, you're not alone. A lot of us are, our portfolios are wrecked, and especially when it comes to the Terra Luna community and people that were in UST and lost everything. There was word of, people taking, their own lives and the tragedies behind that. Johnny Deaton's pretty much coming out here saying this is 100. So he's talking about how all this stuff was leading up to all these, these negative outcomes that's been happening based on what happened to the depegging of UST and the downfall of Luna. And they're talking about how, Do Kwon's taking it in regards of, being arrogant and, as they say, living in a glass house, throwing stones at people, how it came back to bite him, which affected the entire market, the entire community, his community. Massimo says, you're dealing with a 30-year-old cocky or I guess you could say bastard, who can't seem to understand the gravity of the situation and with a giant ego. You won't get a resolution from Mr. Do Kwon. Good riddance in my book, unless someone can kick him out and replace him. Johnny D says this is 100 when it comes down to it. I saw a video clip of Do Kwon yesterday where he said it was fun in watching companies or projects go to zero. Despite his arrogant, heartless comment, there was nothing fun about watching Luna go to zero. Good people got hurt. People lost their lives. People lost everything. And that's totally the truth. And they're talking about this video right here. So if, just a reminder, let's take a listen in.
95% are going to die.
Yeah.
95% are going to die. Yeah. But yeah, there's also entertainment in watching companies die too.
There's entertainment. Oh man, that's so evil. At least you get to.
So that one was super low, but pretty much he was laughing at, it's kind of entertaining, watching projects go to zero. 95% of projects are going to be non-existent. And she was pretty much saying, that's kind of evil, but I guess you can learn something out of it. And he just kind of had this arrogant smirk and smile on his face. And it's not only that, there was, tweet threads and tweet responses that he was a part of, over, I want to say over the year where, he was kind of combating with certain people, just in a negative, arrogant way, talking about going after, the DAI stable token and, be happy, staying poor and all this other stuff. So it just wasn't a good look. It just overall, and that's the overwhelming concept, but it doesn't change that, there's people that truly been devastated because of what's happened just with Luna and UST, not alone, not even speaking of what's going on in the overall market. This is from Digital Asset Investors, March 29, 2022. Smoke rising. So it's competitors to it's a competitor to Ethereum. The SEC can't control it because it's in South Korea. So they're talking about USD stablecoin. So then out of nowhere, it's taken out. I'm going to need a dimes to donuts T-shirt. So he's always referring to Mike Novogratz and his dimes to donuts because he had inside information that nobody has when he was short in XRP. But come on, we're gonna listen into this.
Blockchains out there, so you can think of it as a competitor to Ethereum, and it's got a lot more going on than just this stablecoin. There's a number of other cryptocurrencies and initiatives. One of those is the popular cryptocurrency called Luna. The stablecoin I mentioned, UST, has grown to a $16 billion market cap. Analysts I'm talking to say all of this is likely to catch the attention of U.S. regulators, and it may not sit well. There's been a couple warnings so far out of Washington about stablecoins and the risk to financial stability. It is worth noting, though, that this project is based in South Korea, and its founder, Do Kwon, last year was subpoenaed by the SEC, but has also sued that agency in response. And so the idea of this new steady demand, though, is helping the narrative around Bitcoin, these so-called whales, adding to their balance sheets and holding for the long term is really seen as a bullish sign for.
So there was a lot of stuff Do Kwon's been a part of. I remember there was an interview. I forgot who was giving an interview, but they were asking about, are you worried about, the regulators and the SEC and of the United States? He goes, no, I'm not a United States citizen. I don't live there. I don't operate there. So, but clearly there was some sort of coordinated effort to take them down, and it's happened. They exploited that network in that community and devastated it. So it's crazy. And it's kind of fitting this whole, how he says competitor to Ethereum, huh? So you want to compete with us, you want to be arrogant, we'll knock you down a peg or two, and boom. Who knows? There was a lot of speculation on, certain parties or entities being involved. They were talking about the Citadel, I think, BlackRock, and other people were talking about, the government's involved, SEC's involved, who really knows the real narrative, but it's happened, and that's kind of where we're at. Reading this one, this is from David. He says, Do Kwon needs to come out and just be upfront with all the Luna UST holders. Hiding or going radio silent isn't a good look. My suggestion would also be to get a PR team to keep up the mess. So, I mean, that's a great point. I mean, I remember when it happened, the actual day it happened, and even leading into the next day, like he had maybe like one or two tweets, maybe, even though they were threads within, all the chaos. There was a lot of uncertainty. And if you would go in and click in, the tweet that he did have, there's so many people, searching for answers, trying to figure out what was going on. And, no one was updating the community, which was absolutely crazy. To think of a so-called community that was worth 16 billion as a, UST, and the community was absolutely massive. You had Luna sitting at 119 and a massive market cap being in the top 10 or whatever the case is. And it's like, you can't keep your team up. You can't keep the community up to date. Crazy, man. Moving on here. So when we talk about stable coins and, fitting the narrative of government regulators, obviously they see when it comes to the legacy financial system in the banks, stable coins pose a threat, especially when you have the ability to leave your stable coin or stake your stable coin and earn, 4%, 9%, 10%, or UST 20%. They're not going to like that because you don't get that with leaving your money in a bank account. So they're talking about, and they've been talking about, we need to have regulations against these stable coins. We need to have regulations within the crypto space. So now it's just fitting, their narrative. And it's almost as if it was like a coordinated effort to do this so they can have, more strength and more power within their corner to push that agenda and push their narrative. Digital Asset Investor says, I bet dimes to donuts. This whole crypto market crash was intentional and coordinated as a setup to bring in regulations. So listen into this.
Warren Buffett has this famous line. He said years ago in one of his annual reports, when the tide goes out, you see who's been swimming with their trunks off.
And that is, I understand that there may not be systemic risk in terms of systemic to the financial system, but systemic within the crypto world. Mm-hmm. Is there risk? Are there knock-on effects?
Yeah, I think there are. Anytime that you see this type of extraordinarily volatility, you're going to see, whether it be funds that blow up, whether it be individual investors are certainly nursing quite a few wounds. So I think over the next couple of weeks, you're going to see some of these bodies float to the top, and you need to be...
Bodies float to the top, huh? Crazy. So now switching over here, yes, there's a lot of market uncertainty. We're sitting at, 10 extreme fear and greed, 47 minutes. We're going to have an update here. we are seeing some gainers here, but if I come back over here, Bitcoin's kind of just been ranging in that 29, 30,000 range. Still a lot of market uncertainty, but there's still, adoption happening. Obviously, just in the top 100 Bitcoin wallets have added 17,000, or we could just say 17.4 thousand Bitcoins out of, I think it's 522 million in the past 24 hours. So, they're buying the dip, they're accumulating at these low prices. And, it's crazy because obviously there's some manipulations, coordinated effort to bring down the markets. They're constantly, accumulating. I mean, it is what it is at this point. I mean, it's no secret. And it says, breaking, this is from Bitcoin Archives, breaking, Canadian Bitcoin ETF bought 6.9K Bitcoin yesterday, the biggest single day purchase since it's listed. And then coming down here, it says, important to note, yesterday 2 Bitcoin ETFs did launch in Australia. One of them, the Cosmos Purpose Bitcoin Access ETF, CBTC, is getting exposure to BTC by buying shares of the Canadian Bitcoin Purpose Spot ETF. So the latter is now essentially reflecting 2 ETFs. So the overwhelming concept I'm trying to point out here, and you can look at a lot of on-chain analytics. I mean, when it comes to accumulation from major wallets, major entities, more Bitcoin wallets being opened and more adoption and growth. I mean, it's happening, even though we are in this I mean, it's truly been devastation in this devastation phase of our market. So whether we're in a bear market, like some analysts may say, whether we're in a bear trend, whatever the case is, it's still happening. Adoption is happening and people are accumulating. So, me personally, my wife and I, we have the ability to hold on strong. We have, enough income to, take care of our month-to-month and day-to-day expenses. So we maintain a healthy life. So, and we have the ability to accumulate a little bit more at these low prices. So we're going to do so. So you got to fit, you got to do what's best for you and your family. If you have the ability to hold on and, not sell, that's awesome. Do that. If you have the ability to, dollar cost average and purchase more of assets that you wanted to get in, you have this opportunity. That's kind of what this phase of the market should be looked at. Now, with that being said, with the devastation that's been happening, I still want to send out a lot of love and prayers to the Terra Luna community, for those that lost their lives and for those that are going through it right now. Just know that you're not alone. We are a decentralized community that needs to come together to support one another. It's literally the crypto market versus the world, and that's just the reality. With all that being said, stay strong out there. Be safe.